Why does poker, more than any other game, bring out the absolute worst in us? It's not just about losing money. It's about ego, identity, and the brutal fact that you can play perfectly and still lose. And that messes with people in ways they don't even realize. Poker doesn't just challenge your logic, it assaults your emotions. At its core, tilt is a chemical reaction. You lose a massive pot and your brain releases a cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline, the same hormonal surge you'd get if you were physically attacked. Because in a way, that's how your subconscious interprets it. You're not just losing chips, you're losing status, control, and validation, all at once. And this is where poker becomes more than a game. It becomes a mirror, reflecting your deepest insecurities back at you. We have an inherent need for fairness, a belief that effort and good decisions should be rewarded, but poker doesn't care. You can play flawlessly and still get crushed. That creates cognitive dissonance. Your brain screams, I did everything right, so why am I being punished? Worse still is the illusion of control. Poker gives you just enough agency, enough reads, odds, and strategies to make you feel like you're steering the ship. But at the end of the day, no one can control the turn or the river, and that lack of control gnaws at you, hand after hand. Jared Tendler, mental game coach to high-stakes pros, says that tilt often stems from unrealistic expectations, believing that good play guarantees good results. It's a flawed mindset that sets players up for emotional disaster, because variance doesn't just affect your chip stack, it attacks your self-worth. Elliot Rowe, another mindset coach, calls poker a test of identity. If you view yourself as sharp, disciplined, and rational, and poker takes that away, you'll either adapt or break. And most players, they break. Think of it like this. In a video game, you lose, you respawn. In sports, you lose, and there's another game next week. But in poker, you lose, and that one hand, that one blow-up, can cost you thousands of dollars, hours of progress, and your seat at the table. The stakes aren't just financial, they're psychological. You can make the right decision 99 times, but it only takes one bad beat to undo it all. That's poker's cruel design. It doesn't just punish mistakes, it punishes correctness. You flop a set, trap your opponent, and still get rivered. You jam with aces and get cracked by King 9 suited. These moments don't feel random, they feel personal. And that's just the start. Let's talk about coolers. These are the hands that make you feel powerless. Full house over full house, set over set. You didn't misplay it, you were destined to lose. And yet, it still haunts you, because there's no way to avoid it. No line you could have taken to survive. Then you add trash talk to the mix. Some players use it as a weapon. They want to get under your skin. They know one well-timed comment can tilt you harder than any river card. They needle you after a fold. They smirk after a bluff. They tap the table sarcastically when you miss a draw.
Snap call from Destin. I said Jay's gonna get the bad news.
Let me get that shit. Give him that shit, dealer. Boom! Give him that shit, dealer. Like I knew what he had. Ace King. And boss. Quit betting at me. Knew what he had. Calling me for $1,600. Stop playing at the champ.
Raymer considers, does he want to lose that many chips here? Nope, he folds it.
You gotta stop me, buddy. I'm gonna bust you if you me.
Mattisell taunting Raymer here.
All right, Mikey.
You ain't playing with kids, buddy.
All right, Mikey.
I got balls of steel.
He's got one speed.
Steel balls.
Just came over.
I got big cojones. You got little cojones.
Talk about him, Mike.
I'm just joking, bro. You know that. Uh-oh.
He doesn't understand your joke, man.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm just messing with you.
Even worse is the downward spiral of running bad. Not one hand, not one session, but weeks of getting hammered. You start second guessing everything. Was that a bad call? Should I have folded that river? Maybe I'm not good enough. Now every hand feels like a test, and every loss feels like proof that you're failing. And then comes the ultimate tilt trigger, losing to a bad player. It's not about the money, it's about the insult to your intelligence. You outplay them for 5 streets, they call with bottom pair and hit a miracle card. Then they smirk. Maybe they don't even realize how lucky they got, and that's what breaks you. Phil Hellmuth, love him or hate him, is the embodiment of this rage. I can dodge bullets, baby. If it weren't for luck, I'd win every time. He's not just venting, he's expressing what every player feels in those moments, that the universe is rigged against them. Mike Mattisell has famously flipped out mid-hand, screaming at the sky after yet another suck-out. I play better than everyone, why do I keep losing? His anger wasn't theatrical. It was raw, unfiltered frustration from a man who felt the game owed him more. Even quiet, composed players like Jungleman have snapped. During a recent hand against Nick Airball, Jungleman was slow-rolled, mocked, then bluffed again, and that was it. He leaned forward and swatted Airball's stack of chips across the table like a bear clearing a picnic bench. Because tilt doesn't care if you're seasoned or green. Eventually, every player cracks. Poker doesn't just allow tilt, it thrives on it. The very structure of the game sets players up to fail emotionally. Every session, you're forced to make hundreds of decisions without any immediate confirmation that they're right. You can make the correct fold and still feel like an idiot. You can make a terrible call and get rewarded. It's feedback hell. Imagine trying to get better at anything, golf, chess, trading, while the outcome lies somewhere between skill and a coin flip. That's poker, and it messes with people who crave progress. That's why the game humbles everyone. You win big, feel invincible, and the next session drags you through hell. You get cocky, the deck punishes you. You finally get momentum, and one insane river wipes it all away. Poker doesn't let you stay confident for long, and that's by design. It's the only game where you can do everything right and still lose for a month straight, and no one will feel sorry for you. The game doesn't care if you studied ranges, reviewed hands, ran sims. The deck will remind you who's in charge. That emotional whiplash is what turns calm players into wreckage. And unless you learn to embrace that chaos, not just tolerate it, but accept it, you'll eventually snap. Not because you're weak, because you're human. Tilt isn't just an emotion, it's a leak, and it's bleeding money out of your game whether you notice it or not. Most players think tilt looks like someone slamming the table or going all in blind, but real tilt is quieter. It's that voice in your head that says, call just this once, you're probably ahead. It's rationalizing a play you know is wrong because you're frustrated. Every time you act out of emotion instead of logic, that's tilt, and it's expensive. Tilt doesn't care if you're a low-stakes grinder or a high-stakes crusher. It creeps in after a 3-hour session with no big pots. It surfaces when you feel disrespected by another player. It builds when you feel the game slipping out of your hands and you need to get it back. And when you don't address it, it becomes part of your play style. There are players who never go on monkey tilt, but tilt affects their confidence, their volume, even their table selection. They avoid spots, dodge aggression, play scared. That's tilt too, just a different form. Some players quit the game completely, not because they're bad, but because they're exhausted. The emotional toll became too much. They didn't fix their leak, they let it sink the ship. The truth is, you can study GTO until your eyes bleed, but if you can't handle tilt, you're drawing dead. At the highest levels, players don't avoid tilt, they study it. They prepare for it like it's an opponent, because in many ways, it is.
It's nothing different.
They know the feeling, that flash of heat in your neck after a bluff gets snapped off. That pressure in your temples when a 2-outer wrecks your set on the river. That voice inside, quiet at first, whispering, you've got to win that back. Most players let that voice drive. The great ones don't. They've built habits most players never even think about. Some start their sessions with breathing routines, not out of superstition, but because they've learned that mental clarity saves money. Others walk away mid-session when the emotions peak, not because they're weak, but because they've seen what happens when they don't. It's not a weakness to feel tilted, it's only a leak when you act on it. The shift happens when you stop reacting and start observing, not just the cards, but yourself. Where did the tilt start? What was the trigger? Was it the loss or the disrespect? The cooler or the fact you couldn't fold? Most players never ask those questions, but those who do, they grow. Some record voice notes after sessions, others journal. They don't just review hands, they review the moment they lost control. They want to understand the patterns, because once you see the pattern, you're not stuck in it anymore. Tilt feeds on silence. It thrives in players who refuse to confront it. But those who do, they start to change, slowly, quietly. They don't smash monitors, they don't slam tables, they don't chase pots to make it right, because they know nothing needs to be made right. The game didn't betray them, it just reminded them what poker really is. It's not just cards and chips, it's discomfort, it's ego, it's identity under pressure. And the ones who master it, they don't try to eliminate emotion, they just stop giving it power. That's the real edge, not a solver, not a chart, but the ability to lose, again and again, without falling apart. Because tilt is always there, waiting for a reason, and every time you choose not to give it one, you win. Poker is a game of skill, but survival, that's a game of control. Tilt is always there, waiting on the river, hiding in a bluff, lingering after a loss. And if you don't learn how to manage it, it won't just cost you a hand. It will cost you everything. But here's the scary part. Even if you master your emotions, there's one opponent you still can't beat, the house itself. Because while you've been working on your mindset, online poker has been breaking from the inside. Bots, collusion, hidden RNG. It's a whole different kind of nightmare. Click the next video and find out the biggest scams of online poker.